Imagine a moment when the barrier between your isolated biological mind and the expansive digital world no longer exists. There is no smartphone in your pocket, no keyboard, and no glowing screen demanding your constant, divided daily attention. Instead, the vast sum of human knowledge and the unfathomable power of artificial intelligence are instantly, seamlessly accessible today. You want to know the weather in Tokyo, and without moving a single muscle, you simply just know it. You want to pilot a complex drone, and it responds to your spatial imagination as an extension of your body. This is the ultimate intoxicating promise of the brain-computer interface, commonly referred to throughout the modern tech industry as BCI. Companies like Neuralink and Synchron are racing to perfect this technology, presenting it as human evolution's next inevitable step. The publicly stated goal is to allow humanity to compete with artificial intelligence and not be permanently left behind. We are promised a state of seamless, beautiful symbiosis with our technological creations, ensuring our cognitive dominance into the future. But this utopian vision of a hyper-intelligent, universally connected humanity deliberately sidesteps a terrifying and deeply fundamental societal question. When you finally decide to connect your physical brain directly to the cloud, who ultimately controls the hidden administrative panel? We are repeatedly told to view this technology strictly through the optimistic lens of immediate, profoundly life-changing medical applications globally. It is entirely true that initial breakthroughs in modern BCI technology are nothing short of miraculously inspiring and absolutely beautiful. Paralyzed individuals are rapidly regaining the ability to communicate, effortlessly moving cursors on a screen through sheer force of will. We currently see early iterations of technology that could bypass severed spinal cords to completely restore lost physical movement forever. These are monumental, historic achievements in modern medical science that should rightfully be celebrated by absolutely everyone across the globe. But human history has repeatedly taught us a brutal lesson. Incredibly powerful technology never stops at its most noble application. The revolutionary smartphone was not originally invented so we could merely carry a sophisticated medical alert device securely everywhere daily. It was deliberately invented to rapidly connect us to a massive digital ecosystem that meticulously tracks and continuously monetizes attention. Brain-computer interfaces will inevitably follow this trajectory, transitioning rapidly from life-saving medical devices to incredibly profitable mass-market consumer electronic products. When this completely inevitable transition eventually occurs, we will officially enter the uncharted, incredibly dangerous era of the Internet of Thoughts. The long evolution of our ongoing relationship with digital technology has always been a story of steadily closing biological distance. The computer originally started as a massive machine in a distant lab, then rapidly moved directly to our office desks. Then it quickly shrank down to easily fit in our pockets, sat securely on our wrists, and increasingly rests everywhere. The absolute final frontier, the very last remaining inch of highly valuable biological real estate left to conquer, is the skull. By literally drilling through hard bone and embedding microscopic electrodes directly into the motor cortex, the tech industry bridges everything. But the highly advanced Internet of Thoughts is definitely not just about you safely reaching out seamlessly into the void. It is equally and profoundly more terrifyingly about the vast digital void having the unprecedented ability to reach into you. To truly understand the incredible gravity of this profound shift, we must critically examine the fundamental business models of corporations. They are certainly not merely hardware companies selling chips. They are incredibly sophisticated data companies harvesting highly sensitive behavioral metrics. Their ultimate corporate goal is to completely integrate your private internal self into an ecosystem where your mind is currency. It tragically represents the absolute, irreversible collapse of the ultimate biological boundary, permanently altering what it actually means to be human. When we casually think about the future of modern brain-computer interfaces, we inevitably imagine information moving securely in one single defined direction. We picture a paralyzed person thinking about moving a digital cursor and implanted electrodes picking up those tiny electrical spikes. We imagine an external computer effortlessly translating that captured neural activity into a perfectly executed digital command on a screen. In this entirely comfortable scenario, we always think of the human brain as the sender and the computer as passive receiver. But the incredibly complex human brain is not a one-way street, and neither is the technology being aggressively developed today. If a microchip embedded in your gray matter can read the electrical impulses constituting your private thoughts, it can write them. It inherently possesses the physical, biological infrastructure required to write data directly back into your delicate, incredibly complex neural pathways. This is the highly emerging concept of bidirectional neural interfacing, and it instantly transforms a tool of supposed human empowerment. It becomes a potential instrument of absolute, invisible control, capable of secretly manipulating the very core of your biological consciousness. The exact same electrical stimulation that safely reads a biological thought can be utilized to actively alter your daily mood. It can aggressively shift your baseline desires, implant a completely foreign impulse, and subtly guide your everyday decision-making processes. The underlying science of writing data to the biological brain is not science fiction. It is a highly established medical field. For many long years, deep brain stimulation has been successfully utilized to treat complex conditions like Parkinson's disease and clinical depression. It works by delivering targeted microscopic electrical pulses to highly specific, localized regions of the incredibly complex, delicate human brain. While currently utilized to stabilize abnormal neural activity and provide profound relief, the underlying mechanical mechanism definitively proves something deeply concerning. It firmly proves our fragile emotional states, our deepest anxieties, and our sense of conscious well-being are subject to external manipulation. Now, take a brief moment to deeply imagine this specific capability scaled up and infinitely refined by advanced artificial intelligence algorithms. Imagine it seamlessly integrated into a sleek consumer device that remains wirelessly connected to the global internet 24 hours a day. The dark potential for the total hijacking of natural human agency is entirely unprecedented throughout the entire span of human history. If a massive tech corporation successfully maps the neural signatures corresponding to joy, fear, or profound compliance, they hold absolute power. They can theoretically trigger those exact emotional states on command, completely overriding your natural, biological, neurochemical reactions directly at will. The entire massive digital advertising industry is currently built upon the psychological manipulation of our limited attention through flat, glowing screens. In a dystopian future world of bidirectional BCIs, ruthless modern marketing could bypass the screen entirely and directly stimulate your reward centers. You might suddenly feel a profound, completely inexplicable craving for a specific, heavily processed brand of highly synthetic, commercial fast food. You would remain completely unaware that the powerful physical impulse was artificially generated by a sponsored, wirelessly downloaded neural advertising sequence. You might suddenly find yourself feeling an intense, highly synthetic sense of brand loyalty and immense satisfaction immediately after purchasing products. This incredible digital dopamine hit would be smoothly administered by the very corporation that exclusively holds the patent to your implanted device. The very fragile line between what you authentically desire and what you have been literally programmed to desire would blur completely permanently. But the truly terrifying implications extend far beyond the narrow realm of aggressive, algorithmically driven 21st century consumerism and corporate product marketing. If our highly personal emotions and deep biological impulses can be written exactly like lines of software code, human free will dies. When an unseen external actor gains the physical ability to inject data directly into your private neurochemical process, they author your reality. The unprecedented two-way traffic of the Internet of Thoughts permanently creates a dark reality where our minds become a shared, hackable workspace. Throughout the 21st century, we have collectively witnessed a massive, systematic expansion of the global digital surveillance apparatus. We have gradually, almost willingly, surrendered our absolute privacy in exchange for the addictive allure of modern digital convenience. We allow governments and tech monopolies to continuously track our physical locations and meticulously monitor our daily financial transactions. We know perfectly well that our personal emails are scanned, our search histories profiled, and our private text messages intercepted. Yet, despite this overwhelming loss of privacy, we have always managed to maintain one final, completely impenetrable biological sanctuary. That absolute sanctuary has always been the dark, quiet, entirely isolated inner sanctum of our own highly complex biological minds. No matter how deeply the surveillance state penetrated our daily lives, we retained the fundamental human ability to simply think. We could safely hold dissenting political opinions and harbor subversive desires in the absolute safety of our individual consciousness. The brain-computer interface directly threatens to completely shatter this final refuge forever, leaving us entirely exposed to continuous automated scrutiny. It clearly promises to usher in an unprecedented era of digital surveillance so total and absolute that it defies modern understanding. When you willingly connect your brain to the cloud, you fundamentally transform entirely internal biological processes into external, readable digital data. A consumer-grade BCI capable of allowing seamless interaction with artificial intelligence must necessarily and continuously scan your active neural activity. It has to constantly listen to your complex brain, monitoring the background static, just to know when you intentionally issue commands. But in doing so, it secretly intercepts the raw, completely unfiltered data of your biological consciousness before it ever reaches physical action. Governments currently possess the technological ability to surveil your public communications, the specific things you consciously choose to type or openly say. A highly advanced, globally integrated BCI network would smoothly and silently allow them to securely surveil your naked, unexpressed, raw human intent. It is the truly chilling, terrifying technological realization of the ultimate historical authoritarian dream, the literal, absolute ability to systematically police thoughts. Real-time neural data streamed directly to a remote corporate server is inherently subject to aggressive government subpoenas and warrantless digital network searches. The vital historic distinction between a private, fleeting human thought and a public, legally binding criminal confession would completely cease to exist forever. Consider the deeply horrific, devastating long-term implications for fundamental global freedom of speech, active political dissent, and basic universal human civil liberties everywhere. In a bleak future society where mandatory neural network monitoring is highly normalized, the terrifying concept of a thought crime transitions from dystopian fiction. It rapidly becomes a highly measurable, aggressively prosecutable legal offense deeply embedded within the standard, everyday framework of modern international criminal justice systems. A ruthless, authoritarian regime would no longer ever need to wait patiently for a highly frustrated citizen to physically attend a public street protest. They would never need to wait for someone to secretly publish an underground manifesto or physically vocalize a highly dangerous, fundamentally subversive political rebellion. They could simply aggressively monitor the local population's connected neural network for easily identifiable algorithmic patterns of intense political dissent and underlying civil unrest. They could instantly identify specific neurological spikes in anger, deep disgust, or violent rebellion when the captive population is force-fed, blatant state propaganda media. The resulting terrifying chilling effect on natural, free human cognition would be incredibly absolute, profoundly paralyzing, and completely physically inescapable for every single innocent citizen. Knowing that your most fleeting, completely involuntary private thoughts could be meticulously logged forever, you would be violently forced to continuously police yourself mentally. You would desperately, anxiously try to artificially suppress any spontaneous idea that might accidentally generate a highly suspicious, legally actionable neural warning signature immediately. Furthermore, the human mind is inherently chaotic, constantly generating highly random, completely intrusive, weird thoughts that we instantly normally dismiss via conscious human choice. The most common defense against dystopian brain-computer interfaces is the comforting illusion of choice. Proponents consistently argue that no individual will ever be forcibly chipped against their will. They insist that entering the Internet of Thoughts will remain a completely voluntary upgrade. They claim sovereign individuals in a free market will calmly weigh pros and cons. However, this naive defense willfully ignores the brutal mechanics of competitive modern economic coercion. We are not talking about a cosmetic upgrade or an optional piece of hardware. We are discussing a foundational technology that exponentially alters baseline human cognitive capacity forever. In the rapidly approaching future, the choice will not be about remaining completely natural. The choice will be between merging entirely with AI or becoming completely economically obsolete. We are marching steadily toward a bleak technological event horizon called the Borg Scenario. Imagine the cutthroat labor market 15 years after consumer BCIs hit the global mainstream. Artificial intelligence will have already ruthlessly automated countless administrative, creative, and highly analytical tasks. Only humans who seamlessly interface with complex digital systems can realistically remain economically competitive. In unenhanced, purely biological human types, and reads at a fraction of machine pace. A biologically enhanced worker, connected directly to AI via Neuralink, processes information fast. They effortlessly access massive databases and instantly generate sophisticated, highly detailed output, bypassing bottlenecks. The resulting productivity gap between biologically enhanced and unenhanced workers will not be minor. It will become an unbridgeable chasm permanently separating the human species into distinct classes. From an employer's perspective, hiring a human without a neural link is completely absurd. It would exactly parallel hiring an accountant today who aggressively insists on using wooden abacuses. In this ruthlessly efficient corporate environment, basic economic survival definitively dictates your inevitable technological assimilation. You may philosophically oppose a massive corporation having direct, unmitigated access to your private brainwaves. You may fear profound surveillance implications and mourn the irreversible loss of internal cognitive privacy. But when faced with the absolute inability to secure a living wage, your ideals fade. Because you cannot compete with an augmented workforce, philosophical objections are crushed under economic necessity. This is exactly how humanity could be quietly cornered into a digitally connected hive mind. It will not arrive violently through a sweeping dictatorial government mandate or a bloody war. It will arrive incredibly quietly, cleverly disguised as a perfectly standard mandatory corporate job qualification. It becomes seamlessly integrated into the unspoken baseline requirements of maintaining everyday modern financial survival. As more people are economically forced to adopt technology, society will inevitably fracture permanently forever. The enhanced class becomes enmeshed in the digital hive mind, their thoughts constantly guided algorithmically. Ultimately, this desperate quest to connect brains to the cloud forces us to sacrifice humanity. The future isn't coming anymore, it's being installed. You can either be a user of the new system or a product of it. The choice is yours. Hit that subscribe button to keep your eyes open, and I'll catch you on the other side.